I'm going to tell you a story today about a house. The house was in a nice neighborhood. It was 2 stories with a white picket fence. The price was good, too good to be true, and now I know why. See, when I went to rent the house, the landlord was eager to get me to sign the lease. He showed me around the property, pointed out the new appliances, the new roof, and then he took me up into the attic. Now, the attic wasn't finished, but it was sealed off from the living space with a heavy soundproof door. According to the landlord, it was just storage, nothing to worry about. He gave me a key for it though, which was weird. Because if it was just storage, why not leave the door unlocked? I shrugged it off. After all, I was paying almost half the market rate for this place, so I had to assume the landlord was just being extra cautious. That night, after I'd gotten settled, I started hearing scratching sounds from above my bedroom ceiling. I figured it was just mice, or maybe some raccoons in the attic. But then I started hearing whispers. They sounded like they were right outside my window, just on the other side of the eave. I couldn't make out the words, but it sounded like a man and a woman talking in hushed tones. And then I started hearing footsteps. Someone was walking back and forth on the other side of the attic door, right above my head. Whatever it was, it sounded heavy. It didn't sound like a mouse dragging something behind it. It was deliberate, slow, dragging, like a person dragging something heavy. Every night I heard the same thing, the scratching, the whispers, and the dragging. Every night, I'd get up to investigate, throw on all the lights in the attic, check everywhere, even crawl out into the eaves to see what was going on. But every night, I found nothing. As the weeks went by, the scratching and the dragging became more frequent. And one night, I heard a loud crash followed by a blood-curdling scream from whatever was up there. That's when I called the police. When they came, I told them about the noises I'd been hearing, but they couldn't find anything either. They checked the attic, looked out the windows, and told me to stop wasting their time with ridiculous stories. When they left, I went back to my room, defeated. I knew they wouldn't believe me. How could I blame them? I sighed. There was no way I was getting sleep tonight. So I got into bed and pulled the covers over my head. Then, I started to hear the whispering again, right outside my window. This time, I could make out the words. They were singing a song in some unknown language. A shiver ran down my spine and I buried my head under the covers. Suddenly, the attic door burst open and icy cold air flooded into my room. I squeezed my eyes shut and I heard heavy footsteps coming toward my bed. Whatever was up there was big. Its breathing was hot and foul and its eyes glinted in the darkness like 2 burning embers. I screamed at the top of my lungs as I felt its icy cold fingers wrap around my neck. Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying on the floor and the attic door was sealed shut. Had I imagined the whole thing? Was I losing my mind? I tried the doorknob. It was locked. I started to panic. But then I heard a voice. It was the same voice I'd heard singing outside my window. It was the same voice that had whispered to me in my dreams. It was speaking to me now, telling me to calm down, telling me that it meant me no harm. It promised me that if I let it in, it would protect me, guard me forever. All it asked in return was that I never open the door again. I hesitated. What choice did I have? I was trapped in that house with a monster in the attic. And now it was trying to befriend me. Well, it wasn't exactly making friends. It was more like striking a deal. And deals with the devil are never a good idea. But I was desperate. I put my ear to the door. I could still hear the scratching and the dragging sounds, but now I could also hear the voice, calling to me, promising me peace. I reached out a trembling hand and slowly began to pry the door open. As soon as I broke the seal, though, I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. What I saw standing in that doorway was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It looked like an emaciated old man, but his skin was stretched tight over his bones, and his eyes burned with an otherworldly light. He beckoned to me with a finger, and beckoned again until I understood. He wanted me to follow him into the attic. I should have run. I really should have, but I didn't. Instead, I did as he said, and followed him up the stairs, into the attic. It was dark and dusty and filled with the smell of decay. The old man disappeared into the shadows, and I stood there listening to the scratching and the dragging. I heard him laughing to himself, a low guttural laugh that echoed through the attic. Then the floorboards creaked as he approached me once more. He was closer now, and I could hear his raspy breathing. He was smiling, I could tell by the glint in his eyes, and I knew then that he hadn't meant to strike a deal with me. He'd meant to capture me, and that's when I realized why the attic had been sealed off all those years, to keep me from waking him up.